Arsenal-1, Burnley-Zippy. Let's pop in. What's going on, everybody? This is another episode of The Ghost of Highbury. I'm your host, Anton, and we are happy today, this Saturday afternoon, wherever you are. If it's evening, if it's very early still, I'm right in the middle. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon here where I am on the east coast of the U.S., and we have won 2 games in a row. Count them, baby. 2 games in a row. 2 clean sheets in a row. That's what's happening. However, and a big however, we've only scored two goals in the last 2 games and 2 goals all season long. So while and remember, this is life. You're allowed to be two things at once. You can be happy that we won 2 games in a row, and it looks like we with having the players back that we wanted makes a difference, right? At the same time, we can understand we cannot be satisfied with where we are because the fact of the matter is, wins are generated by creating chances and burying those chances. And for us currently, we just aren't doing that. And it doesn't appear, at least in the Norwich game, it looked like we could score. And maybe we just weren't putting things away and things like that. In this game, it didn't look like we had many chances. And I could be wrong. We're going to take a look at the stats. We're going to do our player ratings. We're going to do all that good stuff. But just on the eye test, and to be fair, I need to watch the game back. I missed the first 15 minutes of the second half because I was doing what I said yesterday. I had a family event that I needed to attend. And so I missed the first 15 minutes of the second half. And it looked like when I got back on it, let's just say the 60th minute. And we were just very wasteful. We looked tired. We looked leggy. We looked like it looked to me like it was our second game of the day. Like we had played one like early in the morning or something like that. Like, when you're a kid, sometimes you have to play 2 a days, and you might have like an 8 a.m. and then like a 1 a.m., right? I mean, at 1 p.m., right? It looks like Arsenal had this was like their 1 o'clock game. This was the second game, and they were kind of exhausted by the time the start of the second half came around. We just didn't look offensively. And let me stress that. Okay. Offensively, we didn't look like we wanted to even score another goal. We just looked like, oh, well, we're in an area, so we'll just kind of try. But like they didn't have the same energy as if they were 1-0 down. Right. And that's sort of the difference between putting teams away. Like sometimes you got to put teams out of their misery. Burnley is one of those teams. You got to put them out of their misery because they will keep coming until the whistle blows. And it wasn't because we didn't have possession or anything like that. It just seemed as though like the final ball coming in was just absolutely poor. Some of the passes. I'm like looking at, did something happen in the first 15 minutes? Did a fight break out? Why does everybody seem so just lethargic? It's just, and so defensively, we looked amazing. I know that, and I said in my Twitter comments, and again, I'm not dead on Ben White or anything like that. So I don't want to make it seem like, I'm super negative on him. Right. But up to this point, because I know you don't want to make someone's price tag them. Like you aren't your price tag. That's what two business entities agreed upon to pay for you. But that doesn't make you that. Right. And the only thing I said was simply this. Up to this point, I haven't seen a $40 million difference between Ben White and Rob Holding. Now, for context, I think that Rob Holding's a decent player, probably a lower half Premier League team starter. I could see him getting into some teams in the lower half of the table and doing fairly well. Do I see him at the top 6? No, I don't. Absolutely not. Right. So that's just, just some little bit of context. What I've seen from him so far, right? So when you go out and okay, so you have Rob Holding, you lose David Luiz, you've determined that Pablo Mari is probably not where you want him to be, and Callum Chambers is also the same. And so you say, okay, we're losing David Luiz, who was probably our highest rated center back up to that point. And so we need to replace him. So we need to pay a lot of money to replace him because we need some quality in that space. The only thing that I'm saying here is that I don't believe that the price that was negotiated is consummate of the player that we purchased. Now, if we bought Ben White like we bought everyone else that we bought during Project 23 for somewhere in the 25 to $30 million range, I think that we would be having a different conversation about him, right? Some people would say, well, why are you going cheap? Spend $50 million on a class player because we need to upgrade that position, or we need to upgrade on David Luiz, right? Now we spent $50 million. Are you telling me that he isn't to this point? And I want to stress this, right? To this point, is he better than David Luiz? Has he shown you that he's better than David Luiz? And I'm not talking about David Luiz career wise, because he probably won't win half the things that David Luiz has won. That's a tall order to win the things that he's won. He is a winner, right? And that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about his time at Arsenal. Because to be fair, David Luiz has won things at Arsenal. And so are you trying to tell me that to this point, and be honest, whenever you watch this, be honest, because I know most people watch my streams after they're done, right? Be honest with yourself right now. Is he better than David Luiz right now? Right? Now you can look over to his left and see that player is better than David Luiz at Arsenal. He's better right now. Now, career wise, he still has a long way to go. He's a young guy, right? But he's better. And he costs $23 million less than what we paid for Ben White. And so that's all I'm saying. Is he $40 million better than Rob Holding? Is he $23 million better than Gabriel? Did he play well today? I would say he played well. If you told me, okay, the choices are, did he play good or did he play bad? He definitely played good. Definitely. But when you watch his comps and you listen to the people that talked about him prior to us purchasing him and even afterwards, right? And you watch like the YouTube comps, and everybody put comps on. That's what people do. They put a lot of comps on, and because people want to know, right? If you're an Arsenal fan, you don't spend your life just watching other players and this and that and creating comps for other teams, and you don't do that, right? So comps help, right? Give you a sense of the player that you're buying, right? And what did we see? A person who was like technically like gifted on the ball and who could spray a pass, right? Sort of like a David Luiz regen, if you like, but just short, a little bit shorter, right? And we don't his leadership skills. David Luiz was a leader on the pitch. Whether he is a leader to be, that's yet to be determined. But that's what we thought we were getting. That's what we hope that we were getting. I should reword that because the jury's not back yet, still out, right? And um, so let's see. But as of now, he's not pinging. I mean, he pinged a few last week, but then this week he didn't. And it wasn't because he didn't have the opportunity. He just looked like he was afraid to do it. To be fair, when he was challenged, he stood strong. But what he's good at, he wasn't good at today. He was better in the air than he was with his feet, which is sort of the opposite of his scouting report. He's really good with his feet. The scouting report is or was that he's not that good in the air. Today he showed he's pretty decent because of his positioning. We talked about it yesterday, like about Dennis Rodman. His positioning gave him the opportunity to be better than maybe with the stats show in the air. But with his feet, he didn't really provide much, getting the target, to getting the attack started. But enough about him. But as a unit, they were amazing. Tommy Yasu again stood up. Gabrielle, there's a few players who the ice bath should be ready for upon, like clapping the fans, and maybe a quick word from the manager or something like that. Gabrielle should the ice bath should be ready because he absolutely stood up today. Tamiyasu, absolutely. I mean, there's that picture floating around where the ball's coming in and Gabrielle and Tamiyasu kind of collide on the guy and like stop him, and he's just like, you could just see the face of the attacker from Burnley. Like his face is just like, I just need a free hit on goal. Like, come on, man. And like these two guys are just throwing their bodies, right? And so you see things like that, and you're thinking to yourself, this is what it means to play for the Arsenal. These guys understand, like their mentalities are there, right? And Ben, to be fair, I mean I'm just talking about that one example. Ben White was about it too. He didn't like some of the rough and tough things that like the attackers from Burnley did, complained a little bit, but then he put his nose down and did his job. I wasn't expecting him to be so, I won't say bad. I'll just say passive with the ball. And then he almost cost us a goal with a weird kind of pass back to Ramsdale, which we'll get to. And Ramsdale ended up like with a point. I won't say a game saving a tackle, but a point saving tackle, right? Because it looked initially to be a pin, right? But then upon a closer review, and big shout to VAR, when that showed that it in fact wasn't a penalty and it was reversed. So big shout to the VAR team for keeping us in the game. That, to be fair, it wasn't a penalty. So and so it's weird because Gabrielle and Tierney were definitely the two best defenders of the back four. Gabrielle and Tamiyasu, I'm sorry. Tierney and White were probably just one step behind them. And so, of course, the comments and the ratings might reflect that. But I think generally, all four of them defended with honor and sacrifice. And I appreciate that. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you're drinking right now. I'm on the water. Big shout to you guys. If you're having a beer, it's Saturday. If you have to cut your grass already because you got to start doing your honeydews. I know there are no more games today because all the game. We had one early game. I believe Brentford played early at like 7:30 a.m. our time here in the U.S. East Coast, and then all the other games started at 10 o'clock. And then we have the awful London derby tomorrow with Tottenham and Chelsea. I hope they both lose somehow. So, yeah, but going forward, I don't know what it is. I just don't know what it is. And this is the point. We'll get to it, and I'll sum it up after we do our player ratings. But in short, this is the problem, and we're going to run into this with Project 23. I believe that some of these young players, while talented they may be, and potential they may have up to the heavens, right? Week in, week out, they can't perform. Week in, week, this is the problem with gassing up these kids in their minds and the coaches. I mean, how many times have you seen people this week talk about Charlie Patino playing games for Arsenal? And it's and I say that because I'm not saying that he's not talented. I'm not saying he doesn't have potential, right? But you need men playing this game. I'll say this once, and I'll say it 5,000 times. There are two young players right now who are, in my opinion, worthy of playing week in, week out. Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland. If your name is not one of those, please pick a spot on the bench and be prepared to be subbed on as an impact sub. Or please wait till your game when we play Wimbledon on Wednesday. And that's just how I feel. I don't have an issue with young players getting time and stuff like that. But the fact that we started two younger than 21-year-olds, right? Under 21 players, to be fair. And I want to say they let us down, but they can't at this point in their careers consistently perform. Right? People who are in their prime or 26, 27, 28 years old sometimes can't perform, right? But the fact that we are where we are and the solution to that is to play these kids week in, week out is it's confusing to me. Because one, you risk the fans sort of turning on them. And I've seen it now. Like I watch Twitter and you see people, was Saka's S. And you see the guy up on there, well, he's been S for, he's having he's been S for a couple weeks now, and this and that, and layovers from the Euros and this and that, and ESR, he's nothing but a dribble merchant, and blah 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 blah. Right. And this is what you run into when you depend on young people too much. Right? Veterans are veterans for a reason, right? Because they've proven that they can do the job consistently. And when you depend on them too much, you risk them being exposed to too much negativity too early in their career. So going forward, and we will touch on like Aubameyang, and so I'm not going to completely pile on the young players, because it was a good mix. It was ESR and it was Saka, but it was also Pepe. There was also Partey. There was also Aubameyang, right? And so some of them did well, some of them not so well. And like I have always said, consistency is what's going to take us up the table. If we can be consistently this team, I mean, I guess I'll suck it up. I mean, the games are, and I said it, I'm not going to lie, these games are really hard to watch. And that's why I hope that this community grows, because doing watch-alongs and engaging with you at the same time will help, sort of this process of watching these games week in, week out. Because without it, and it's just me watching, watching it on the screen, it is really, really hard to view. We just never look like scoring it, or we get in the final third and a lazy pass or a back cross or a terrible set piece kick or something like that's going to come in. And it just, you just never think you're going to score. Right? To be fair, I mean, what won us the game was a beautiful set piece by Odergaard. Beautiful. Right? And please, more of that. You can see what it meant to him when he scored. You can see. He was like absolutely like ecstatic that he scored that goal, right? I mean, wow. I mean, I thought he was going to take his shirt off, right? He was, and so you love to see it, right? That's what you love to see. I was excited. I was in the car driving to my event, and I'm screaming in the car. My family's looking at me like I need mental health treatment. But yeah, I mean, it was a great goal. But and I'm gonna watch it again. So I'm not going to tomorrow. Well, we're gonna post tomorrow. I doubt it. I will say probably Monday for sure. We'll be streaming Monday for sure, and that will give me time to re-watch the game without because I was like home, then in the car, then kind of half doing what I needed to do, and then back in the car again, and then watching the end of the game on my couch. and I need to watch the game sitting just for the full 90, watching 94, watching, and just kind of reevaluate the game. So these ratings and stuff will just, I might come back and revisit these, but these are just kind of my takes on what I saw. And they're not too bad. What it is, and what it does, sometimes it'll just leave us room for discussion. There's some things we're going to have to talk about because this team continues to be fit, right? Because we don't have right now, though, we do have a couple injury issues, and hopefully they were just precautionary subs, right? We'll discuss that. But as these players continue to be fit and play week in and week out, and hopefully we put in performances, right? Hopefully next week we dust off Spurs, we sub, we rest some players. The only thing I can say about some of these injuries is that I'm not glad that we're not in Champions League or Europa League, but sometimes with these guys, I'm glad they are. I'm glad we aren't, because it doesn't look like they can it doesn't look like they can make it playing 2-3 times a week. It doesn't look like they would make it. Looks like they're gonna fall apart. But anywho, yeah, so that just leaves more questions because as these players become more fit, the excuses sort of leave. And so that's gonna cause some problems for a few of these players, because you can't say that you're not injured. You can't say that, oh, well, I didn't have my partner, I didn't have this. Like, people are here and people are playing. So what's your excuse now? Right? You can't say what's the manager and his playing style, because you have plenty of opportunities, right? Are you doing what you need to do? Are you putting yourself about enough to equalize? I mean, to not equalize, but to maximize the opportunities that you're getting. That's what I wanted to say. So yeah. So let's run for 30 minutes and let's jump into, let's go to the Premier League site and then take a look at some of the stats and things like that. So here, Burnley had more shots, of course. You're seeing people saying Ramsdale didn't have anything to do, but shots on target were only 3. But they did have shots. So I know people said, well, I think Gabriel should have been man in the match. I don't have an issue with that at all, because I think that he played immensely. I mean, I think that he was wow, right? But I think that what it was, and I said this online, I think that seeing the way, like, I just like Ramsdale's way of playing the position. Just like I like Gabriel's all over the place, right? In a good way. Like, he doesn't, like, in playing with him, it's going to take some time, because if he doesn't think you got it, he's going to come take it. Like, if he sees you struggling, he'll come take it off you. Right. And that might leave problems behind or something like that. Or, so as his teammates, hopefully we have enough consistency to know that, okay, he might go rogue, for a good way, but we need to make sure we cover him. Right. Had a lot of possession, made a ton more passes, couple hundred more, almost a couple hundred more. Pass accuracy was decent. The fouls were about even. The cards were about even. Nobody get sent off. We weren't offsides too much, actually more than them, which means we were on it defensively. But they had 8 corners, and that tells you that we defended excellently. And it wasn't just all Tommy Yasu and Gabriel. Ben White had a good share of clearances with his head. So, I mean, against one of the more stout defenses, in the Premier League, big, strong, dark artsy type of players, and we did our thing. Wow, looking at the standings, Liverpool number 2. What's happening here? I mean, it's wild, bro. So with that win, But that win, we're up to 12th, which is good, right? Has anybody okay? So only Chelsea will play tomorrow. Man City will play. Has I thought they drew. They drew their game. But only Liverpool and Everton have won their last two, and Man United, of course. So we're doing well. People are losing. People are taking L's. Look at this right here. Let's bottom half of the table. Okay, only we have one in the bottom from 10 down. No, from 5 down that have won their last two games. Everybody from 5th all the way down to the bottom of the table has lost at least one of their last two. We're the only team now starting to move our way up. So in the last two games, we came from 20th to 12th. Wow, winning seems to work. Can we get more of that, please? Okay, winning seems to help, right? And so now, so now you look at the people above us. Tottenham dropped real quick, right? And they're probably going to drop more tomorrow. So they're probably going to lose their last two after this is done. Chelsea's probably going to move up to 13, which will probably put them second, depending upon goal differential and things like that. Tottenham will have 9 points, which will keep them probably right where they are. And we're right behind them with 6. So if they lose tomorrow and then we beat them next week, we'll have 9 points. We'll be tied with them. Right? But we'll probably have what? Let me see. Wins to yeah, but we'll be 3-3 and they will be 3-3. We'll be tied. So we're right back in it if we can beat Tottenham, we're right back in this race. Right? Brighton's going to stabilize, and they're probably somewhere in this 8, 9, 10th, 11th zone right here, right? Brentford's probably going to stabilize. Watford's probably going to stabilize. Leicester probably come up with us as Brighton comes down, as West Ham might probably hang out. They've had 2 draws. So, they're probably still trying to figure out there, but they're you see their record. It's not bad. Right? Everton will probably stabilize, drop down a little bit, right? But how far will they drop? Because they've looked good. They haven't lost a game. So, it's going to be interesting, but we gotta hang out. Okay, we're better than Brighton. We're better than Spurs. We're better than West Ham. We're better than Brentford. We're better than Watford. Are we better than Leicester City? I don't know. But we're better than these guys. We're better than all of them. Right? So you can argue that Everton's probably not going to end up in the top 6. Okay? So who deserves this spot? Is it us? Is it Leicester? Is it Tottenham? I think it should be us. So let's take a look at the lineups. Okay. So we played they have it as a 4-1-4-1. I thought initially it was a 4-3-3 with Partey kind of playing the holding role, not holding Rob Holding, but holding midfielder. And then, maybe, something like this, but maybe Saka and Pepe playing a little bit more forward. If it was true that they played a 4-1-4-1, it wouldn't surprise me because, we can't keep our forwards forward. That would just be nice, right? But that would require, I say that because it looked like we played with like Emile Smith-Rowe being the 10, Odergaard playing an 8 next to Thomas, because Odegaard was so deep during the whole game, driving the ball, pressing. He was playing like a true box to box. He played really. For effort, he gets a 10 for me for effort, but we'll get to that. Happening here. Wow, I don't need to know about that. So let's jump into this is how we lined up. Was it different than what we said? I didn't think Smith Rowe would play. And I think that was the only sort of thing that we got wrong in our pre-match lineup. Was that we didn't say Smith Rowe would play. We thought that Zombie would be back here with Thomas, and then Odergaard would be up here. But that was the only thing that we really got wrong. We got the back four right, back five right. We got Thomas right, Odergaard right, Aubameyang, Saka, Pepe. I know I wanted Pepe, and we're going to talk about this because Saka is, like I talked about earlier, right? We need to figure out if the Saka need a rest. Does Saka need to be on the right, and we need to make way for, we need to put Pepe on the left. I don't know. Him and Pepe and Aubameyang aren't. We'll get into it. I don't want to jump ahead of myself because I don't have all night. So I want to get through this lineup, and then we'll have some ending discussions on these players. So let's start with at the back with Aaron Ramsdale. And so you saw the stats, you saw everything that happened. If you're not impressed with Aaron Ramsdale, then you're just you're like a Leno stand or something. I don't know what more you need to see that he appears to be right for this scheme, right? Would he do well in Man City or Chelsea or Liverpool? I don't know. Honestly, don't know, right? But he seems to do, and I've mentioned this on so many different streams. I need a person who can be a good shot stopper, who can command his box and be good on his feet, right? He really hasn't had many opportunities to be an amazing shot stopper. Thank God, right? Thank God we're not getting peppered with goals, right? Thank God, right? So that's a good thing, and that's a credit to the people ahead of him. But in terms of commanding his box and distributing the ball with his feet, he has been excellent in all the games he's played. It's now 3 games, right? I'm not going to count West Ham as much because those were all kids. I mean, not West Ham, but West Brom. But the last 2 Premier League games he's played, shots have come in and he's dealt with them with relative ease. I mean, every corner that comes in, if he can, he goes up and gets it himself. He's not doing this weird punch thing away and it falls to somebody and they get a tap in or something like that. He is commanding. He's commanding his box. And you can see the way towards the end of the game when he was coming in and commanding things, how much they like our defenders appreciated that he did his thing. He played with no fear. How easy he got rid of the ball. There was one time where his pass got deflected because he hung out a little bit too long with the ball. But you can see he kind of learned from that. Like, all right, well, yeah, all right, all right, we playing now. All right, learn from it, right? Kick the ball out, get it, took a deflection. It still remained our ball, but for the most part, he was excellent. I'm going to give him an 8. I think he did well. I just really think he did well. And we'll talk about this on Monday after we hear some of the manager's comments and things like that. He has to start during the North London Derby. I know my man said in Bayern, like the Bayern in the know or whatever he is, or German in the know. I don't know, whatever. But if Burnley comes back in for the North London Derby, there needs to be an inquisition. I'm not kidding. I mean, seriously, there's no way. He's earned the right to 2 clean sheets. I know you're playing who you're playing, right? I know you're playing who you're playing, but right, he's earned it. So I say 8 for him. I just think he did. I think he did everything well. I'm just checking something just popped. I just want to make sure that they're not saying that we have any injuries or anything like that. Let me just switch over real quick. Just make sure. I think they're. Okay. Yeah. So I think Villa and who is it? Villa and Everton are playing right now. Okay. Anywho. So let's move to the 4 defenders. Let's start with Kieran Tierney. And I think that he played better than he played last game. And I think that we have an issue, I think, with Kieran Tierney with high expectations. Again, like I said, like he's consistently a 7.5 player, and he just really hasn't hit that level yet. I don't know if he's having some effects of the Euros, which is why that would mean why Ben White and Gabriel and Tommy Yasu are playing well. They didn't play in, Ben White went to the Euro. No, he didn't. He didn't go to the Euros. Wait a minute. Yes, he did. He did. He just didn't play. He just didn't play. And so, yeah. And so I don't know if he's just, laggy, right? But he's just not there. And then all of a sudden at the end of every game, we're all of our eyes are on him and his legs. And he always goes down with cramp. And like I've seen interviews with him that say, that's the way I play. I put my body on the line. I get it, right? But that's your moneymaker. If you do that because you love playing the game, then take care of your body, right? Make better decisions. Don't do this thing where you just run your body into the ground and we're counting on you to be there because you are a great player, but you can't be here, right? If you know anything about the history of this club, we've had a ton of players who've had tremendous potential, and we love it every time they step onto the pitch, but that's few and far between. And so he needs to take care of himself a little bit better. One second. So that's tyranny. I'm gonna give him a 6. I don't think he played well. I mean, I don't think he played bad. I just don't think he played well. And again, that might be one of the ones that I might look at back and amend after I watch the game again. But yeah, for now I'm gonna give him a 6. I don't think he played bad at all. I'm just not seeing like the something with the offense is just not clicking, and I don't really know why. What's going on here? I'm recording a podcast. We'll call you when I'm done. Okay. Sorry, it's just work. Unfortunately, I got to keep my phone on. And so let's move over to Gabriel. And so here's the challenge here. Who gets the man of the match? Is it Gabriel? Because there's 4 people who could legitimately get the man of the match, and I wouldn't complain. Okay, Thomas, Odergaard, Gabriel, Ramsdale. Even Tommy Yasu could get a shout, right? I just think they all played well, and so but Gabriel was just immense. He was all over the back. There were so many times I saw him on the right side, up the field, making passes. He's another one that, like, when you looked at his comps, he was spraying balls to Pepe. That's all you saw. Spraying the ball to Pepe, spraying the ball to Pepe at Lille, spraying the ball to Pepe, right? He never sprays the ball. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see. That's what we bought these guys. I mean, we bought them for the intensity but we bought them for their feet. We bought them for their ball play, right? And they're not. I mean, I don't know if it's because they're not doing it. I don't know if it's because they don't trust the people ahead of him. Maybe the manager has told them not to do that. But when you look at these comps, that's what you see. And the fact that, like, you don't see them do that is strange to me. At minimum, it's just strange. I just think that, like, it's a big part of their game. I think that only a few people can actually do that, and I think that we have 2 people who can, but they don't for some reason. And I'm just curious to know why they don't do that. But besides that, strength, power, heading, clearances, passing, lack of mistakes. I mean, always available, always strong, always. I mean, we joned on him a little bit yesterday, talking about the high top and calling him kid and play and all this type of stuff. But I mean, he was just amazing. I mean, this reminds me of, like, the first few games of last year, right? Where it was just like, where did this guy come from? I mean, we have finessed Leo out of, like, one of the best center backs in the world. Like, what's happening here? Like, that reminds me of this match reminds me of that Gabriel. And so he played well. I'm going to give him a 9. I think he was just that good. Yeah. So next, Ben White. And again, we talked at length at the beginning about Ben White. I don't think he played bad. I just think like the things that he is known to do well, he didn't do as well. And the things that he was known to not do well, he was really good in the air, really good positioning, really good. But his passing, his ball handling, things like that just weren't as good and actually put us in trouble a couple times. And so, yeah, I just think that I don't know if he's in his own head. I don't know if he's still trying to get used to, the what is it? What would you call it? The pressure of playing for Arsenal, right? Because you remember his only season was without fans in the Premier League, right? So we have to kind of take that into account. So the first time he's been around fans, sort of in the Premier League on the big stage, was probably in the Euros. So so he played all of last year for Brighton without fans. Okay, so we have to. So maybe this the gravity of the event of this, his big signing. He's our big signing. First time really in the Premier League with fans. It might be a little much for him. It shouldn't be, and we think that like everybody should take it in stride because you're at the highest level and nothing should affect you. But but maybe it does, right? And again, like we talked about with Gabrielle, the comps show a different player than we've seen. We saw glimpses of it against Norwich, and maybe because of the way they play versus the way Burnley play, it was an advantage. It wasn't an advantage to play that way. But if you see somebody on a run, I don't see the problem with hitting them because I think those type of balls are with Aubameyang and Pepe will thrive on, and Saka for that matter. It might not help Odegaard out too much, but I just think it like you need a different dynamic sometimes. Sometimes you can't just play through everybody. You can, right? But if every now and then your center back got the ball and somebody took off and he was able to hit them, now the defenders have two things to worry about. And they're like, okay, are they going to play through us or are they going to play a ball over top? And so I think he did well though. I'm not going to diss him for that. I just think that Gabrielle, and that's the thing that like I think that Gabrielle put on such an immense performance. It overshadowed Ben White, right? And so then you ask yourself questions. Wait a minute, but we spent 50 million on this deal. How is he getting overshadowed for the dude we paid 27 million for? So yeah, I'm gonna give Ben White a 7. I think he did really, really well, especially in the air where we thought he would be weak. And he wasn't. He stood up and was counted. So big up to him. And then Tommy Yasu, who just continues, who like for real, like how has he even had a chance to build his furniture yet, or like to like unpack his suitcase? I mean, seriously, this guy has just been about his business, about just about his work. You know, I mean, he just came in, did his interview. First day we saw, he's just like, yeah, 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 I'm here to do this. I mean, if the manager need me to play striker, I'm playing striker. Like that's what's happening. That's what I'm about. And has quietly like been the missing link to this defense. I mean, has just been incredible. I mean, big, strong, holding things up, accurate passes, great runs when you need to, not too much, right? Not too much, because we already have Tyranny on the other side, and you don't want to leave us exposed, but just at the right time, just a very intelligent, smart, skillful player, right? We didn't, and the good thing is we didn't pay too much, we didn't overpay, so we don't have this amazing expectation of him. And so I think that for that, things like that are what kind of hurt Ben White, or what's going to hurt him until he does something amazing, like game saving tackle, and then like a flying header that scores us a winner, or yeah, it's something's gonna, like I don't know. We have to go on a run of like 5 games with a clean sheet or something like that. I don't know what's gonna help people. Like he pings the ball in over top to Aubameyang and he buries it, or I don't know what's it gonna take to get people to get off of Ben White. But that price tag makes it really, really difficult for people to do that because we're under the impression that we don't spend money, but we absolutely do. I've proven it to you on this stream. But when you spend $50 million on a player, you expect a certain level of quality. And I just think that for people's expectations, he hasn't lived up to them yet. And I don't know what that expectation is. I don't know if people expect him to be Virgil van Dijk or whatever they expect, right? But for whatever reason, he hasn't lived up to them for people's expectations. But Tommy Yasu, who didn't come in for a lot of money, right, and has quietly not needed an adjustment period. Language hasn't been an issue. He has come in, took the manager's instructions, and just worked. I mean, he just works. And more than that, he's an upgrade on everything that we've tried in that position prior to then. And it's early, and I don't want to make too many crazy comments and things like that. But if you look at him as a whole as a player, not just offensively, not just defensively, he's better than Hector Bellerin. He's better. As a whole, does he have Hector Bellerin's pace? No, he doesn't, right? But he's better defensively and positionally, so he doesn't really need it. He can pass better than Hector Bellerin, can defend better than Hector Bellerin. Not as fast, but he's in a game of football, he has more a higher seems to have a higher football IQ than Hector Bellerin, right? So that means he's better. Like we're going back to what, like Bakary Sagna, right? He's the best right back since Bakary Sagna, right? And that's a good thing for that price, right? And a player who's dreamed of playing in the Premier League, dreamed of playing for a club like Arsenal, and now he's done it. Right. And more than that, he has flourished. I'm going to give Tamiyasu an 8. I think that he was just below Gabriel, but he showed up large. I just think he was great. So let's move into the middle. And we got Thomas, and depending upon Premier League has it as a 4-1-4-1, but it seemed like it was more of a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, depending upon because Odegaard played so deep, right? And so I think this was the Thomas that when Rudiger slid in during the Mine preseason game and slid in, and I don't know what he did to Thomas's ankle, right? This is what we envision. That player is what we envisioned we were losing when Rudiger slid in and hurt Thomas's ankle, right? You see now, right? It's like the Rocky, like Rocky 4. You see, he's a man, right? I mean, you just saw him. He was the best midfielder on the field. And it wasn't even up for debate. There's no conversation to be had. There's no debate that needs to be done. He was the best midfielder in, I don't know what city Burnley's in, right? But he was the best midfielder in that geographical area, right? He was just that good. He was amazing. I mean, they couldn't do anything with him, right? The only issues that we have with Thomas is for some reason he can't stay fit. And I know people saying he asked to be subbed, and I don't know if that's because he was just exhausted and like, okay, well, I can't really, I'm getting to the point where I can't help the team, so get me off before something happens and we end up losing this lead, or if he felt something and was like, all right, before something really bad happens, get me off. We don't know, right? And we'll see when the press conferences happen and things like that. But he was just amazing. He is just what we need, right? The rest of the midfield, we're going to have to figure out. Because there's a spot there that I think the problem with Odegaard is, and I want to say problem, I don't, that's probably the wrong word, But the issue is that we have to keep him. We have to come get him so deep because we can't get him the ball going forward. If we had two players that could get him the ball all the time, I think Odegaard surprises us and becomes an amazing player. I think he's probably going to do that anyway, but just not in the way that we would as fans want to see him doing it, like coming to get the ball deep, sort of playing like a Ramsey role, right? That's not how we kind of perceived him, and so I think that we're going to have to figure some things out in the midfield. I think there still needs some tweaking in terms of the game plan and this and that because people are sort of like like eclipsing, eclipsing, eclipsing. Hold on one second. Eclipsing Odegaard. Let me just send a message to somebody, one of my clients here. Give me a second. Um, so well, in terms of Thomas, sorry about that, everybody. In terms of Thomas, he was just great. And so I'm gonna give Thomas an 8. I think he was amazing. And again, maybe in that first 15 minutes of the second half, I missed something, but the first half, he was he was about that business. And closing the game up, he was about that business until they got subbed off. And then Maitland Niles and Sambi came in and did their thing. All right. So I'm gonna give him 8. All right. So I'm gonna say Martin Odegaard next because I think he, he was kind of like right in the middle and played kind of sort of next to Thomas. He was sort of like his partner. And so Martin Odegaard uh, represented himself well. He was a press monster. He dictated the game in such a way that like you could not miss him. He was not. Burnley tried to make him disappear. They tried, right, and he just refused to just not be to not get pushed out. I mean, he didn't he didn't it didn't matter where the ball was. He was going to come and get it and get his foot to it, right? I know that that was probably an issue that people had with Mesut Ozil, right? But not every player can do that, right? Martin Odegaard doesn't have the vision of Mesut Ozil. I would argue that no one probably has the vision that Mesut Ozil has. I mean, when you see how many times people go for runs in our club and they don't get the ball, right? Those passes, Mesut Ozil will hit you, right? Despite what you may think about him character wise and this and that, and is he past it? Is he not? Right? There are passes that we got used to, right? Let's get it right, right? There are passes that we got used to that Mesut Ozil will hit. Think about the pass that he hit Nacho Monreal with, where he wasn't even in the screen yet, and he crosses the ball in, right? He crosses the ball in, and then all of a sudden you just see Nacho Monreal come from out of the like into the frame and then buries it, right? Only he's doing that, and I think we have to remember that, like, okay, he's not that guy. Martin Odegaard, that shouldn't take anything away from Martin. We just have to realize we don't have that player anymore. And so, but I think that he played great. I mean, he represented himself. I mean, like especially against Burnley away, he represented himself extremely well. And then when he got his opportunity, it was class. It was absolute class. I mean, it was just an amazing free kick. We don't, like I'm so excited about free kicks because we just don't hit them a lot, right? We had Pepe who went on that little run where he was burying them, right? And then it's been kind of quiet since then. And so like he has done amazingly well. I'm gonna give Martin I'm gonna give him an 8. I'm gonna give him an 8 because I think, because he definitely won us the game. But I just think that like we going forward, I don't know what the problem is. I really don't. I don't. And that's something maybe we can, I don't know if I can get somebody on that can that's smarter than me. We can figure some things out, but I can't figure out why we can't score. Seriously. All the money, all the millions of dollars we have in this squad, and we can only we've only scored 2 goals all season long. Come on, right? Now watch us go to Wimbledon in midweek and put 5-6 past them, and people are like, oh, and I'm not falling for it. I'm not. I'm telling you now, right? And if you fall for it, like the same way we kind of fell for West Brom, it's not that we fell for it. We just, you know what I mean? Like we just, I don't know. Like we just thought like this was the start of something, right? If you're thinking about it critically, you're like, all right, well, this is might be the jump start that people like Aubameyang need and Pepe need, right? This might be what they need to like they saw the ball go into that. Okay, right? That's only where I took it. Like, hey, this is just what he needs. I understand it's not the team, a high quality team, but hey, he saw the ball go in positionally. He was there, A, B, C, and D, right? 2 games later, mm-mm. Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka has yet to play a full game of quality football this season. And that's an issue. It wouldn't be such an issue if we weren't trying to have him start every single game because he's young and he shouldn't. If we only needed to depend on Bukayo Saka for at most 45 minutes a game, he would be a force to be reckoned with. But I think at this point, because of all the games that he's played, and then he made his way into the England squad, and all the games that he's played with them, right, and all the games he's played so far this year, I think we're managing him wrong. I think we're going to run him into the ground, and I think we're going to have people who turn on him. I mean, you already saw it this week. Well, if 90 million comes in, or X amount of dollars come in, I think we need to sell, right? And I'm not going to disagree with that, or like I don't have an issue with making that statement or anything like that. But I think that if we were bringing him off the bench and he was doing big things, 45 minutes, like maybe the game is kind of dragging, we bring him on, all of a sudden, yeah, we're doing our thing. We put in 2 goals, we put a team away, right? If we were doing that week in, week out instead of starting him, and then we're like, wow, man, like, man, he's first half, second half, okay, he kind of turned it on. Or, like first half he was great, and the second half he kind of went, kind of like disappeared, right? That's what we keep seeing. And so I just don't think that, like, maybe physically, mentally, whatever it is, something's not clicking where he can play consistently well for a full game. And it might not be his fault. He just might not be at that level yet. And that's okay because he's young. I don't think a 20-year-old should be a world beater at 20. Right? There are only few people who are world beaters at 20, but they're few for a reason. I'm going to give Saka a 6. And because I just think that, like, there were plenty of chances for him to get forward. There are plenty of chances to make a good pass. There are plenty of chances for him to probably put something good on target. And none of them were taken advantage of. I don't think but I do say he did cover Tyranny really, 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 really well. Right. And sometimes that's where a lot of times, if he's doing good things going forward, then his tracking back and things like that, covering Tyranny on underlap and things like that, we kind of suffer. Like you kind of see him kind of hanging out at the halfway line because he's kind of giving everything towards the middle. Towards going forward. And so you kind of see Tyranny being stuck out on the island, especially where Granite Jack is supposed to be helping Tyranny, and neither one of them are. And then you see Tyranny get exposed. So I'm going to give him a 6. I don't think he played well. Bad. I just think that, like, he is in a position where he can probably only give us about 45, 50 minutes of high quality football. And we're asking him to play 70, 75, 80, 85 minutes. And I just don't think that's where he is right now. Maybe next year, maybe the year after, when we don't have a World Cup or Euros or this or that to play, and he can get a legitimate summer off to really recharge his batteries and things like that. So yeah, Emil Smith Rowe. I didn't expect him to play because I expected Sambi or Maitland Niles to play and partner Thomas, but he was in there, and of course he does what he does. He runs at the hold on, phone's going off. Leaving in 10. Okay. Turn my phone off. Sorry, you guys don't need to hear that. And so yeah, so that's where but he did his thing. He ran at players. He did his thing. But again, it didn't really result in anything. And that's the thing about playing these, like I love these guys just like you love these guys, right? But if you're looking at things from a practical standpoint, neither one of them are generating a lot of goals or assists. Right. So I get they do things and they do give and goes well, and they get in the box and they drive at players and all this kind of cliche stuff that we talk about that we want people to do who start week in and week out. However, they're not generating any goals, and that's what wins games. They're not generating any assists. That's what wins games. Right. And so I think that we are asking too much of these two players, him and Saka. And when you saw when against Norwich where Emil Smith Rowe didn't start and he came off the bench, that's where you love him. Like you see him, players are tired. It's been a long game. And here comes this kid comes flying at you directly, causing havoc. That's when you want him in the game, right? He doesn't have to be at the point yet where he has to play 90 minutes. All right. We're Arsenal Football Club. We shouldn't have him playing 90 minutes. So I'm going to give him a 6 as well. Nicholas Pepe. I think again he was decent. I think he tracked back a lot. I think he put us. He's the only player who's doing dangerous things besides Odergaard. I think the way that we play him is slightly strange. I think we might have to do some switching around with him and Saka. Saka's going to be the starter week in, week out, because Saka's not really offering too much, and Pepe is getting crowded out on the left. I think that if he hooked up maybe Tyranny or something like that, he might be a little bit better. I think I'm going to give Pepe. I have to give him a 6. That's just, like when watching the game back, I might amend that and give him something higher. But just going forward, I'm not seeing anything. Not enough. But if I know that if I do see something going forward, he's probably involved with it somehow. And so he has a little bit of credit in the bank with me. I know attacking, I want him to be a little bit better, but I understand. And then finally, Aubameyang. And here is where I talked about players who, now that we have everybody back and everybody's fit and everybody's playing week in and week out, we're going to have to start getting rid of some of these excuses. Because I get it. Okay, you didn't have Odegaard. Okay, you didn't have this. You didn't have this player. Thomas was injured. And so you had to track back. You had to do this and, this and that. Gabriel wasn't there. Ben White wasn't there. Kieran Tierney was hurt. Leno was leaking goals and this and that, letting in stupid goals and this and that. And, all this and all these excuses, right? But all these players are playing now. Right? So as the captain of the team, you should be leading this thing from the front. I know you're not the player, the rah-rah guy. I get it. And not everybody has to be that way, but you do have to lead. How you lead, I'll leave that to you, but you do have to lead. And if that's leading by scoring goals and attempts on goals, then you need to do everything in your power to do that. Look at Odegaard and then look at you. He tried to do some hold-up play and stuff like that. And I don't think he's as bad as what people think he is at holding up the ball. I think he's decent, right? But I think that if all of a sudden you want him to hold up the ball, then why were you playing him on the left for so long? Because he obviously can do it. But he likes to hold up the ball, give and go, and then go on the break and then get the ball to his feet. You need to explain to the players that that's what they need to do. And so now we have another situation, another game where I don't even know if he had a shot on goal. And I'm going to have to look at the game back. That's what I said, right? And I'll amend this. I don't think he had a shot on goal, right? So right now, I'm going to give Aubameyang a 5 because of his role at the club, because of his salary, and because how much we need him to perform week in, week out. If we don't need anybody else to perform week in, week out, we need Aubameyang. So right now, I'm going to give him a 5. And so that's it for the player ratings. Again, I'm going to watch the game back. And when we come back on Monday, we'll see if I amend any of my ratings, but probably not, because the score won't change by me watching it again, right, or anything like that. But maybe somebody did a little bit better. Maybe some players did a little bit worse than what I thought. So we'll amend it from there. So do me a favor, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, and please join the Ghost. Jump into the comments and let me know where you're from. And I'd love to meet you, and I'd love for you to join the Ghost. Until then, it's been Arsenal-1, Burnley-0. We got 2 wins in a row. We got 2 clean sheets, but we've only scored 2 goals. We need to improve on that, and we'll work on this week how we can do that. Until then, I see you guys then. Later.